Hello everyone, Spider Fanboy here to bring you the next part to What If Hinata was on Team 7. So last we left off, Team 7 was getting ready to launch their ambush onto Kisame and Itachi out in the hallway just outside of their room. So let's go on ahead and jump right to it. So just about now they all have their sensory buffs up. Naruto has his Sage mode up and has already stacked his initial QB mode on top of it. Doesn't want to go too crazy, but he also doesn't want to hold back against these guys. Sasuke has his Mangekyo Sharingan active, just in case, and Hinata has activated her Byakugan and her Lightning Enhanced Chakra Scalpels. Sasuke himself also has out his Chakra Blades. He's running his Lightning Chakra through them. Doesn't think he'll be able to beat Itachi in his mastery over fire style, but he doesn't really know if he knows anything beyond it, so he's taking a chance and whipping out lightning. They end up charging out into the hallway as soon as they take notice of the shadow clones poofing, and they charge out. Naruto begins bouncing across the walls and lands his QB Sage Mode enhanced Rasengan directly into Kisame's back. He still had, he was holding Samehara kind of against his back over his shoulder. He was fighting against the Naruto Shadow Clone, keeping it cornered. And when Naruto pops up behind him, he does take notice, but it's just that little bit too fast, faster than he was expecting, and it slams directly into Samehara. And it does kind of piss Samehara off, because it's kind of difficult to digest that Rasengan when it's buffed by natural energy. Senjutsu chakra is not something it can easily absorb. Um, so it's definitely a little pissed. It's acting all pissy. And Kisame takes notice that it's going to be very difficult to make use of Samehara if he's using Sage Mode. And so long as he has the Kyuubi's chakra running through him, it'll be easier for him to gather Sage Mode and keep it up for longer periods of time. And luckily, and time is really all they need to do. All that they really need, just until Jiraiya shows up. He rushes forward to face off against Kisame, whipping out his own chakra blades, coating them in Senjutsu Enhanced Wind Chakra. And by the way, he still does have that Shippuden look with the Toad Sage Cloak. Um, just that he's shorter, but like he's like Sasuke's height at this point. The two of them are like dead even. But either way, he's lashing out. He's basically trying to keep him in the hallway, not letting him get his hands, not allowing him the chance to break into hand seals. He summons a few shadow clones to assist him, and he's basically keeping Kisame busy for as long as he can manage, which with QB enhanced stage mode is definitely going to be quite a while. He's definitely going to be able to keep him here for quite some time. And the main battle we really want to keep up with is Sasuke and Hinata versus Itachi. The two of them hope that with their combined visual prowess, they'll be able to keep pace with Itachi and hold him off, if not take him down if they get the chance. So Hinata is kind of running interference anytime Itachi tries to throw in any kind of hand seals for anything, or if the second she notices that he's gathering chakra, like say if he wants to gather chakra into his fingertips to cast that ephemeral genjutsu, the finger pointing genjutsu, she'll rush in, making use of her lightning chakra scalpels. And in his condition, he definitely has to be careful, which she does notice. She notices that there's something off with him. The cloak is kind of hiding it, but obviously she can see through that. Not in the pervy way. But she's noticing that he's like, there are brief moments where his breath kind of hitches, and she's like trying to connect it. It seems familiar, the way that he moves, the way that the way that he fights, how conservative it is. And she ends up piecing it together that he's fighting almost like how Kimimaru did. There are small little habits and tells that show he's not in the best physical condition, which she brings up to Sasuke. The two of them reason that it might be because of the Mangekyo Sharingan blindness, that it might have more effects than just, blinding you. Sasuke has noticed that it causes him crippling pain across the entirety of his body. Um, So he does kind of call Itachi out, and Itachi, he's noticed it since the beginning of the battle, and he's actually kept a little quiet because of it. Sasuke already has his Mangekyo. He ends up questioning his little brother. What exactly would he know about the Mangekyo? He sees that he has it, but does he even know how to use his abilities? How well versed is he in the power of this kind of darkness? And Sasuke rebukes him. He says that he doesn't unlock this power the way he did. He unlocked it out of a need to protect the people he cares about. He didn't unlock it by giving in to whatever darkness is inside Itachi, whatever darkness that drove him to slaughtering the whole clan, to killing his parents, possibly, and he even calls him Shisui's murderer. He questions him, how could he have killed him? It must have been the only way. He obviously had experience with his Mangekyo before slaughtering the clan. Was he really the one behind Shisui's murder? And he's kind of like questioning him out of anger and confusion. He's had time to talk some of his problems out with Hinata and Naruto. He never really went too in depth, but he did, sometimes lament that Itachi used to be his older brother, the one person he knew that he could trust and look up to no matter what, only for him to break that trust and just crush it into nothingness. It always kind of just shattered him, just that little bit. It shattered his heart, and he could never truly understand why he did the thing, why he went through with murdering the clan. And they did end up kind of questioning him. They asked him questions about it, like just why did he go through with slaughtering everyone if it was just for the sake of proving his strength? Why did he kill children and pregnant women? Why did he go after the civilian members of the Uchiha clan, or those who didn't even unlock their own Sharingan? Because there were quite a few who just never pursued the kind of shinobi lifestyle. There were those who um, lived in the compound but had basically given up on becoming shinobi. Not every member of the Uchiha was a prodigy. Not every one of them had the talent for the shinobi arts. So why did he go through with killing every single one of them? And Sasuke ends up questioning him. He loudly um, questions him as he's swinging his blades, as he's letting loose a Raikiri, as he even throws one of the blades at blinding speeds, and it ends up clearing its way. It ends up it's about to completely cleave through the wall, through the end hallway, and shoot itself out of the motel, only for it to actually transform into a shadow clone of Sasuke, which then the two Sasuke's end up. It reveals that it was holding a ninja wire, which they then pull taut and channel the lightning through, and channel the lightning cable technique. So they try to kind of swing it across the width of the hallway to try to bisect Itachi, only for him to disperse into a murder of crows and go for the shadow clone, which then disperses into a lightning clone. And this actually briefly shocks Itachi. He was like, "That's impressive." He layered a genjutsu over his lightning clone to make it look as though it was some kind of shadow clone. He says that it's impressive and his visual prowess has definitely improved, but the fact that he needs the base increase in abilities of the Mangekyo to compete with him, as he only has his own base Sharingan. He hasn't shifted it into the Mangekyo the way Sasuke has. And he tells him the fact that he needs not only the power of the Mangekyo, the starter pack power that it gives you, the basic increase in visual prowess and overall ability, but also backup visual prowess in the form of Hinata, who herself she's been keeping it safe. She hasn't tried to do anything too risky. She only moves in when she feels she needs to, and occasionally gets Sasuke's attention to get his head back in the game. Before he kind of loses himself to all of his emotions. He says the fact that you need something to rein you in, to keep you anchored, shows just how weak you are, little brother. But I'll show you. I'll show you the true power of the darkness of the Mangekyo, and it will be your light that will fuel my power that would fuel my evolution in power going forward. A little hint towards the eternal Mangekyo. Sasuke's about to question this, but he and Hinata notice the buildup in chakra behind his eyes as he shifts into the Mangekyo Sharingan. And then they simultaneously cast their Genjutsu Sharingan on one another. And they actually kind of clash against one another in the Genjutsu world. They kind of both pull that technique that Sasuke used against C at the Five Kage Summit, that Genjutsu where it like took the form of his Susanoo. So there's like that purple Susanoo figure behind Sasuke and the orange one behind Itachi. And Hinata, kind of paying attention to the battle, kind of gets caught up in the simultaneous genjutsu casting. She kind of gets caught up in it, and she actually ends up she kind of gets dragged into the genjutsu world with them unintentionally. It's a bit of a weird process, but with her own visual prowess, her being able to see the chakra of both of them flare up and cast the genjutsu, she kind of gets caught in the middle of it. And Sasuke notices this and kind of tries to protect her in this weird genjutsu realm. It's almost like a battle of psychics. And Hinata has to lend her assistance to Sasuke. Definitely can't win on his own. Um, Itachi ends up, kind of using the Amaterasu in the Genjutsu world, not in reality, but kind of in the Genjutsu world, and Sasuke retaliates by using his own Amaterasu and Kagutsuchi flame control to briefly clash with Itachi's before completely putting the flames out and preventing any harm coming onto Hinata. She does notice that it just feels like a kind of overwhelming cold from Itachi. She can just sense this overwhelming cold. It's all encompassing, all consuming. It consumes any kind of heat and warmth you can have in your soul. But with Sasuke, it's cold, but in a different manner. It's an oddly comforting kind of cold. It's a cold that tells you that nothing will be able to reach you. It's like it's like building an igloo around yourself, keeping it cold on the outside to maintain as much warmth as possible on the inside. Um, and she does end up, the two of them together are able to break out of the genjutsu. Itachi isn't truly trying, but he does want to kind of gauge where Sasuke's at, and he is a little satisfied. This time he solely focuses. He kind of blitzes the two of them as they're recovering from breaking out of the genjutsu. He ends up blitzing Hinata and actually uses his ribcage Susanoo. It pops out with the arm to pin her to the wall, and he has the other skeletal arm form to try to clash again to try to pin Sasuke to the other side of the wall. He's like holding them up against the wall. Same meme, but like to a much different extent. And Sasuke actually ends up countering with his own rib cage and forms his own arm to like kind of grab at Itachi's. It kind of grabs at the wrist to keep it from grabbing onto him, and Itachi proclaims that he's actually impressed with his little brother. He never thought he could grow this strong, but it's a good thing that he left him alive. But for now, he still isn't ready. He can see the hesitancy that Sasuke has in diving deeper into his abilities. He's hesitant to throw himself completely into the darkness. And while he does praise his cautiousness, his wariness, he also criticizes his lack of resolve and strength. He then looks at Sasuke, who is already kind of glaring at him in seething anger and hatred. Sasuke himself is getting ready to cast Amaterasu, try to make some kind of weapon using flame control to battle against Itachi and free Hinata, only to be caught up by Itachi casting Tsukuyomi on him. And here he actually briefly talks to him. They kind of stand in silence for a bit, with Sasuke attempting to question Itachi once more, as he's held on that cross, but he's not going to be torturing Sasuke. He instead tells him that they will be seeing each other again, but he's going to have to be leaving soon. He knows for a fact that Jiraiya of the Sannin is going to make his appearance soon. And beyond that, it seems that their little friend, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Naruto, has noticed their altercation and was preparing to step in. He tells him that if he truly wants all of the answers, he's going to have to prove that he has the strength to tear the answers from him. He says that they will meet again someday in the future, and he looks forward to seeing just how strong Sasuke can become before he ends up swarming their area in like the little Tsukuyomi world. He swarms the area with a whole bunch of crows, with one crow in particular diving out of the tornado and directly towards Sasuke. He looks at the crow, and for a brief second he thinks he sees the Sharingan in one of its eyes. No, a Mangekyo Sharingan? Before he can contemplate this any further, he ends up awakening from the Genjutsu. Itachi has kind of retracted one of the arms, so Hinata ends up crumpling to the ground, only for it to actually poof, and Hinata ends up coming out from the kind of the ceiling. She drops down directly on top of the Susanoo with a Chidori. Um, to try to, and with a Chidori in one hand and the Rasengan in the other, to try to tear down into the top of Itachi's um, Susanoo ribcage, only for him to form the rest of the upper body so that it forms the skull, and that ends up getting in the way of the attack. It's a very large hallway, by the way. I have to give it a lot of room now that I'm thinking about it. But Sasuke and Hinata end up taking the brief distraction to kind of rebound away from Itachi, and Itachi does the same. He rebounds away, and Kisame ends up being sent flying over Hinata and Sasuke, who just barely duck out of the way. His body kind of flies towards Itachi, who has to grab him. Um, Once again, using his Susanoo arm, which then quickly dissipates as black blood begins to drip from his eyes. And same for Sasuke. Sasuke ends up collapsing onto the ground. Naruto takes position in front of Hinata and Sasuke as Hinata begins using her Mystic Palm Jutsu to to try to soothe his pain and any injuries that Sasuke may have suffered. Naruto himself is in position, ready to protect them. He has both of his arms crossed with both of his blades out, and Kisame kind of picks himself up. He's bruised and a little battered. He has a few cuts on his Akatsuki robe, but nothing on his skin. He was able to just barely keep out of the way of his Kyuubi Senjutsu enhanced wind blades. It adds a few layers to the actual blade's cutting ability, so he had to dodge them by as much as he could. He couldn't afford any close calls against those blades of his, and he's pissed he couldn't use his own. Samehada is like visibly pissed off. It's like all spiked up. But Itachi tells him that he's gonna have to calm down as seemingly from nowhere, Jiraiya arrives in the middle of the hall, in the middle of the kind of basically almost completely destroyed hallway. Um, he arrives posing, and the two of them end up making their retreat. Jiraiya does try to, he does that weird summoning jutsu that turns the whole inside into that turns the whole hallway into the inside of the frog stomach or toad stomach, only for Itachi to once again make use of Amaterasu. He's in really bad shape, or maybe he gets Kisame to do it. Kisame lets Samehada kind of eat through the stomach, and or probably uses some kind of shark bomb jutsu to completely tear through it, and the two of them make their escape. Jiraiya briefly contemplates going after them, but then Guy ends up showing up and kicks him in the head. Guy ends up informing them of what happened, how Kisame and Itachi ran Konoha's pockets, and this gives the group more motivation to go after Tsunade, more so that they can have a proper figurehead to deal with these kind of events, rather than needing to heal up Kakashi and Sasuke. They're concerned about Kakashi, and it would be nice if they found Tsunade to heal him up, but Guy tells him that he's in decent enough condition. He should be able to recover on his own, even if it might take a while. But either way, they continue. They make their way towards I don't even remember what it was called. I forgot. Like, I know it had like a very specific name, but I forgot like what the little town was called. But they make their way there. They end up meeting up with Tsunade at the bar, and when Naruto challenges her, he's able to decently hold his own. He doesn't completely go all out. It's clear that she's drunk, but he does take advantage. He ends up using the basic Rasengan, and he nearly lands the hit, but she sobers up for a brief moment, maybe using some kind of medical ninjutsu to help, and is able to get out of the way, grab Naruto by the arm, and shows that she really is a Sannin, even if she is an out of practice one. Grabs him by his elbow, and gets him into like a pinned lock down on the ground. If he even tries to move, she'll basically it'll basically shatter his elbow. It'll like break it. He completely goes still for a moment, which Tsunade takes as him giving up, only for him to completely break out of the hold with no consequence, and to end up kicking her down the street. She tried to dodge, but she ended up getting hit by that Sage Mode enhancement. So didn't really work out too well for her, and she ended up passed out on the floor. She was drunk before all of this, so yeah, she does kind of end up getting knocked on her ass, and she proclaims that that didn't count. If they really wanted to go back, then those other two kids are gonna have to beat her too. And Naruto calls her a sore loser, calls her out for being a sore loser, and she says that if those two manage to beat him or manage to beat her, then well, she'll give this Hokage necklace to Naruto, which she does. You know, he did beat her fair and square, even if she is a little sour about it. And she looks over at the girl. She can clearly tell she's like, I could probably help her with her chakra control. And Hinata ends up perking up at this. She does, even if she did lose a little bit of respect for seeing what kind of shape Tsunade was in. She says, "Yeah, I'll make her my personal student or whatever." And Hinata definitely perks up at this. Being able to learn under the world's best medic will definitely be a good help in getting her a lot stronger. And she looks over at Sasuke and says, "I don't really know what I could teach you." But she ends up saying that if he needs anything, she'll just owe him a favor. She'll owe the kid a favor, and if all three of them do manage to beat her, then or if at least one of them, if she says that if 2 out of 3 of you students can, if the one, basically she has to say, if either Hinata or Sasuke can impress her with something, either by beating her or making some kind of bet with her and winning the bet, then she'll go back to Konoha with them. So they end up coming up with a bet right kind of then and there. They end up making a bet. Sasuke says that he does kind of make it seem as though he's going to complete it. He says that he'll add his lightning style to the Rasengan and complete the jutsu. Naruto's about to refute that he already did that by adding his own wind style to it, but Hinata sees where he's going, sees where Sasuke's going, and kind of elbows him, and she says that she'll do the same with her fire style. She'll come up with her own original technique that surpasses the Rasengan. And this gets her intrigued. She ends up asking what makes him think that they can do that. That Kakashi kid couldn't even add lightning style to the Rasengan, and he was a damn prodigy. Sasuke ends up showing off that he can perform the Rasengan, the Chidori, which is the incomplete and end result of Kakashi's experiments in trying to add lightning style to the Rasengan, and the Raikiri, the improved and finalized version of the Chidori. Hinata ends up doing the same, and also showcases the beginnings of a unique technique that she's been working on by, similarly to the chakra scalpel, her lightning enhanced chakra scalpel. She kind of coats her hand in blue flames that are kind of made out of chakra and flame. It's like a mixing of the chakra scalpel, mainly the overall aspect of coating your hand in chakra and turning it into flames that can't hurt the user. She ends up showing this off, and she says that the two of them end up proclaiming that they'll master the Rasengan in their own way, and she actually agrees to this. If the two of them can pull this off, if they can master the Rasengan by adding their elements to it, she'll agree to go back to Konoha. She'll make Hinata her student, and she'll owe Sasuke one favor. And then she ends up glaring at him, briefly glancing over at Jiraiya, and says, "But nothing perverted. You hear that, kid?" And that actually brings up Sasuke up short. He kind of briefly pauses before blushing and saying that he wouldn't even ask for anything like that. If she really is the age of the old Jiraiya over here, then there's no way he'd want to see anything she has to offer. And this gets her pissed off, but she's too drunk and pissed to care. So she's too drunk and grumpy to care. So she just waddles off, just muttering about stupid Uchiha brats don't know what they're getting. Doesn't even know what he's missing out on. Not like he'd ever get it anyways. This probably also gets some ribbing from Hinata and Naruto. Hinata kind of like dramatically gasps, saying that she never knew he was such a pervert. And Naruto ends up ribbing him, elbowing him, looking at him with like a smirk, and making a few stupid ass comments that gives Sasuke the urge to just clock him over the back of the head. But yeah, they end up deciding that they're gonna be training. Hinata is going to be adding fire style to the Rasengan. She's also adding some elements of the rotation and the jutsu that she initially wanted to create. And it's going to be a little difficult, but she is going to manage it. using some shadow clones, not to the same level that Naruto does, but she's probably able to make like 5 shadow clones, whereas Sasuke can probably pull out like about 10 or so. So they're decent. They have quite the chakra reserves. Um, they're gonna be able to make their shadow clones to help improve the rate at which they can train their techniques. And Naruto, he does still have like a little squad of like maybe 20 clones doing all of the reading material, practicing calligraphy, and improving their beginner knowledge of seals. Whereas he ends up making a 500 shadow, or he ends up making 400 shadow clones, or yeah, 400 shadow clones, so that he can actually try to match Hinata and Sasuke. He has 300 learning from three shadow clones of Jiraiya, so that he can learn how to use Jiraiya's 3 elements of water, fire, and earth. Whereas he has another 100 shadow clones um, working with, let's say, one of Hinata's and one of Sasuke's shadow clones, so that they can begin working on lightning style. He knows from from the third Hokage that you don't have to have the natural affinity for the other nature transformations in order to learn them. It just takes a lot more time. But with his shadow clones, he's able to get it down, and he's also lending some advice and working with Hinata and Sasuke to develop their versions of their own elemental Rasengans. They're only gonna get to like that initial stage of where it's just basic adding, just like basic implementation of the chakra nature into the Rasengan. Um, since they already have a lot more experience in their nature transformation to begin with, as well as knowledge with what kind where that kind of experimentation can get you with Naruto and his wind style Rasengan, and also having knowledge of the Chidori, the albeit failed but still pretty good experiment of trying to add lightning style. Um, they do end up getting it down by the time it comes time for for them to show off. They get it in the few days, and they end up in that same confrontation with Orochimaru, and they end up showing off their techniques. Naruto has only really gotten into the bare bones of just getting used to being able to just actually like burn. He's only gotten his shadow clones to actually burn the leaf, or let's say crumple the leaf for earth style, soak the leaf for water style, and electrocute like a light bulb, power up a light bulb using lightning style. Or yeah, maybe he only gets to like being able to light a fire in between his hands for fire style. He's able to I don't know, shape some dirt or shape some earth, like shape little rocks into like certain shapes. Uh, Power up a light bulb using lightning style, and filling up like a little area of water, gathering some water into like a little area, like gathering like some moisture into the air into like a little puddle of water in his hands. He's only just gotten into that initial stage, the equivalent of just getting into being able to consistently cut the leaf. He's like consistently able to generate the other 4 nature transformations, and he realizes that it's a lot harder for chakra natures that you don't have an affinity for, especially since he's only limiting himself to 100 shadow clones instead of the thousands that he was doing before for wind for his wind training. Luckily, with improved chakra control, anything is possible. But yeah, the whole confrontation with Orochimaru gonna go a lot easier. Tsunade does end up freezing up, but Hinata Hinata is able to back up Shizune against Kabuto, and the two of them actually kind of enter in a stalemate for a brief moment. Kabuto does still have the overall experience, but Hinata has a greater variety of jutsu and abilities. Her usage of her clan abilities, and she kind of ends up pulling a bit of a combo. She gets in close and begins making use of her paralyzing 64 palms. She's able to get him to briefly freeze up before she hits him with a rotation that she enhances with some of her fire chakra, and then she ends up ending the rotation by lashing out with her left hand, and she ends up generating a fire style Rasengan that ends up hitting Kabuto directly in the center of his chest and ends up burning him alive when she ends up launching it out using a vacuum palm. She uses a vacuum palm to launch it forward and also add that little bit of wind to it, concussive wind burst to kind of get it to explode and detonate. It ends up exploding to like a little mini fireball, and it ends up basically killing Kabuto, which definitely pisses off Orochimaru. And he's trying to desperately get Manda to get him the hell out of there. Um, Mada ends up getting pinned when Naruto also summons the other two bosses. The other I already forgot. Gamahiro and what Gamaten? Yeah, Gamahiro and Gamaten. He ends up summoning them to back up Katsuyu and Gamabunta to put Manda down. And in absolute desperation, Orochimaru goes into that initial big snake mode, the white snake that he used against Sasuke when he was close to death, and he ends up pulling on his abilities with Sage Mode even further by turning into the eight serpent mode that he ended up using when he came out of Sasuke's curse mark. He's still in bad shape, and he does end up getting messed up, but he does prove, a decent. It ends up proving as a decent, last ditch effort against the bosses. They're able to cleave some of the heads off, but there's like a few left. Maybe they're able to cleave. The one with like the weird staff is able to pin down one of the heads and kind of snaps its neck. The one with the two katanas is able to cut two of them off, and Gamabunta is able to cut off a fourth. So it only has four of its heads left. Sasuke ends up making himself known. He's probably riding with Naruto and Jiraiya and Gamabunta. He ends up pulling out the Susanoo. It ends up forming into its skeletal stage, and it ends up forming like a lance made out of Amaterasu, and he ends up cocking it back and launches it forward. And he did that with his right hand to hit one of the other heads, whereas with his left he ends up channeling his new his lightning style Rasengan to a much larger scale. As a result, it's a lot more unstable. But he ends up, or maybe he just does it in his own left hand. He ends up charging forward outside of his Susanoo to hit a sixth head, and it causes it to explode, and it kind of makes a brief drill effect before it ends up exploding, and he ends up getting launched away. Naruto is quick to end up catching him, taking him to Tsunade to heal up his really busted up hand. She's kind of focusing on healing Hinata and Sasuke up because they kind of both messed up their hands with their techniques. Naruto ends up glaring at the last two remaining heads of Orochimaru. Jiraiya is about to go in for the kill on one of the heads. He decided to take some inspiration from his students, and he actually helped Hinata develop hers, as he had already developed his own fire style Rasengan. He had it more in the Big Ball Rasengan variant, and with Sage Mode he was able to use it without consequence. Same way that Naruto was able to throw it, he was able to do the same. So he ends up powering up a Big Ball Fire Style Rasengan to launch towards one of the heads, and Naruto ends up jumping up in his own Sage Mode, once again enhanced by the Kyuubi's chakra, and he lashes out with a Vermilion Sage Senjutsu Big Ball Rasen Shuriken, which ends up killing the last of Orochimaru. Maybe like one little white snake but one little white snake does end up making its escape, and it's gonna be hiding in wait. They weren't able to notice it, not even in Sage Mode, as there was a lot of natural energy being thrown around by Orochimaru's messed up attempt at mastering Sage Mode gave him those transformations, and it threw around a lot of negative natural energy. Maybe Naruto did notice, and he ends up throwing a Wind Enhanced Kunai to try to catch it, but it ends up poofing away, and he's not sure if it poofed away because he killed it and sent it back, or if because it was able to escape. He hopes it didn't escape. He hopes he did kill him, but Jiraiya is confident that even if he does come back, he's not going to be in any shape to do anything, and he's right. Orochimaru is in the worst shape of his life. He has lost all of his minions, all of his curse mark wearers. The connection that he has to them is muddled and weakened, and he's not really. And his number one assistant has been killed. So he's gonna have a lot of difficulties going forward. And Manda as well has been killed. He's been slain. Um, when this ends up happening, yeah. So basically, Orochimaru is going to be completely out of commission for quite a while. He's in worse shape than ever before. Kabuto is dead. Manda has been slain, and he's on the back foot. All of his minions are gone. He's going to be taking the time to recover. But as for the group, Tsunade does. She decides she's going to be living up to her word. She's going to be helping them out. So she ends up taking. They all end up traveling back to Konoha after she heals up Hinata and Sasuke. Oh, sorry. They do end up getting to Konoha, and she's sworn in as the fifth Hokage. So she gets her inauguration. She gets her whole, the hat, her cloak, or whatever. And yeah, so we have our fifth Hokage, and we actually don't have a Sasuke retrieval arc. Instead, what we're going to be having is the I really don't know how to call it. We're going to be taking down Root. So Sasuke still has some questions in regards to the whole Uchiha massacre. So when things begin to settle down, Konoha is properly, its its reconstruction is into full swing. He ends up asking Tsunade if he can cash in that favor, and she says that sure, so long as it's nothing illegal. And he asks if he can get any information in regards to the Uchiha massacre, if there's anything whatsoever about the event. And she says that she'll be looking into it. She's been looking through the old man's files, everything he left behind, and she's seen a few things that just don't add up. So she's going to be investigating some things with the help of Kakashi, Jiraiya, and one of Kakashi's old friends from his Anbu days. That being Yamato, who Naruto is actually familiar with from his wind style training. But outside of that, she has taken in her students this time in Hinata, Sakura, Ino, and Tenten, because we kind of know that Tenten had like an idolization of Tsunade. So here, that actually pays off. Um, Hinata had already been hanging out with Ino and Sakura ever since their training, and with Hinata hanging out more with Neji, and as a result, Team 7 hanging around Team 10, I think, or Team 9? I think Team 9. Team Guy. With Team 7 hanging around Team Guy, they ended up bringing up Rock Lee and his injuries to Tsunade, so she ended up healing him. He's properly all fixed up. He's going to be able to get back to his training, and she ended up briefly meeting Tenten, and Hinata decided to do the girl who she's pretty sure has a crush on her big brother Neji. She decided to do her a favor and bring her into the fold, although she's going to be starting off. She says that she decides to kind of hold off so many students. She's going to have Hinata as her personal student for now, and she's going to be she's going to have a training partner in Shizune, where Shizune herself will be spending her time split between assisting Tsunade in her duties, being a main sparring partner to Hinata, and being the mentor to Ino, Sakura, and Tenten. Get them up to where she wants them, so that they can begin training before they end up beginning training under Tsunade herself. Naruto himself is he's expanding his abilities. He's basically rifling through the jutsu library of Konoha to get a better grasp on his overall sealing abilities and his abilities with the other nature transformations. He's also been spending time with Karin, learning whatever she knows about their lineage before they end up, rooting through the Konoha library to discover as much as they can about the Uzumaki clan and its history. Uzushio or Uzushio Gakure, the village hidden in the whirlpools, how the other villages teamed up to destroy it outside of Konoha, all that kind of stuff. They're learning more about their clan. Naruto is kicking his training with Kurama's chakra into higher and higher gears, training not only with Sasuke but also or mainly training his abilities with Karin, as she also trains in using her adamantine sealing chains to restrain him whenever he gets a little too out of control. Kakashi and Jiraiya or Yamato one of the three is almost always watching to jump in and assist in restraining him if he gets a little too out of control. But he's also been discussing and having like talks with regular talks with Kurama. They're still not exactly friends. He doesn't know Kurama's name just yet, but they are settling into that same kind of banter that they had throughout the Fourth War. And he's gaining a little bit more of Kurama's respect every day. Just a little bit, though. Kurama wants to make it clear he's only getting a little bit. And they also eventually come across the Uzumaki Temple that Orochimaru, for whatever reason, never decided to infiltrate for the mask. Um, the QB ends up telling him that if he really wants to prove himself as his friend, he'll retrieve the other half of Kurama's chakra, as it's not only the other half of his chakra, but the other half of his very being. And beyond that, it'll also release the Hokages from the Reaper's bellies. Or at the very, or maybe he doesn't say all of the Hokage since he might not know about the other Hokages being sealed in there. But he says that it'll release the fourth Hokage, and he'll be able to properly rest. So he and Karin do this, with permission from Tsunade and being watched over by Jiraiya. They end up, they use the mask, they unseal the other half of Kurama, and it goes directly into his seal. Whereas Minato ends up, his spirit kind of is released to the afterlife, as are the other Hokages. And this actually causes a bit of a reaction. The sudden influx of the Kyuubi's chakra, Minato's soul briefly being in front of Naruto, this actually causes a reaction with his seal, and he's kind of pulled into his mindscape for a bit. In reality, he in the outside world, he kind of passes out for a few seconds. He goes briefly unconscious when he makes eye contact with Minato's soul, and he ends up meeting Minato, and he also ends up, because it kind of nearly undid the seal and kind of messed with it, he ends up meeting both of his parents at once. It caused a bit of a complication. Normally, he only would have met Kushina when he wanted to master the Nine-Tails' chakra, but opening up the seal briefly in order to let the Kyuubi's chakra in awakened both of their little bits of chakra at once. And they ended up having a meeting. They got all the introductions out of the way. He had a nice heartwarming moment with both of his parents. We probably got a little bit of Kushina scolding Minato, either for overlooking something like this when he's supposed to be a super overthinking paranoid genius, or just for going through with making Naruto the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. It was something she was always against. But either way, maybe she's happy that he found Karin, and she's happy hearing about Hinata. And Minato himself is definitely happy for his son, and he tells him, just to be a little careful with the QB. He tells him that he's been making a decent relationship with the QB, and they tell him they trust him, but they tell him to be careful. Never know what bad things can happen. And then they also tell him about the masked man, how he was an Uchiha, how they suspect, or at least how Minato suspects that he's Madara Uchiha, and all sorts of things. He lets him in on all of the events that happened that night, and when Naruto ends up waking up, he actually kind of confronts Jiraiya. He wakes up, he sees Jiraiya and Karin fretting over him. He hugs Karin, tells her that he's fine, and then he turns over towards Jiraiya and kind of punches him in the nuts before cursing him out. And he tells him that he was his godson and he never even visited, which might actually get Karin to go from worried as to what the hell Naruto is doing to joining him in shouting at Jiraiya. Jiraiya ends up apologizing, and he asks, but what exactly did happen? And Naruto ends up clearing it up. He met his parents. They included a failsafe where they sealed some of their chakra into the seal with the QB. He doesn't really know what's happening with Kurama. He's a little quiet right now, but he ends up speaking up. He tells him that he's just kind of reassimilating himself. He's literally just reunited with his other half. Give him a minute. But he notices that his tone is a little more mellow. A little bit more mellow and level-headed than before. He's not as loud and brash and negative about it. There's not as much aggressiveness, not as much bite, even less than before. But he's like, yeah, I think he just needs a few minutes. We should kind of leave him alone for the rest of the day. I'll talk to him later. I'm pretty sure he's fine. The seal seems okay. They checked up on it just before their chakra faded away. And they end up meeting up with the Hokage. They tell her everything about what happened, and they're basically going to be raiding the Karin and Naruto are going to be raiding the place for anything they can learn about Uzumaki sealing techniques and Karin's own Kikagenkai. Her ability to use the sealing chains. Naruto, unfortunately, doesn't have the ability, but he does have he has awakened his sensory abilities ever since he was training in Sage Mode, and apparently Karama, now that he's reunited with his other half, is going to be able to passively give him that same kind of negative emotions ability. I know he ended up gaining the ability when he ended up gaining KCM1, but here it's going to be a passive ability on a similar level to his passive regeneration. Just from being the QB's container, he's not going to, or at least the full QB's container, he's going to have those two abilities as like his main passive abilities. Outside of increased chakra pools and stuff, he's also going to have his a bit strengthened regeneration and the increase to basic sensory abilities, basic chakra sensing, and the ability to sense negative emotions and intentions. This is happening over the course of like a 3 month time skip ever since Tsunade ends up getting sworn in, and maybe a few weeks later she ends up calling Sasuke into her office, as well as Team 7 as a whole, just to kind of keep Sasuke calm. And she ends up explaining everything she's discovered about the Uchiha massacre, the fact that the elders ordered it, and that specifically Danzo and Root had a hand in it, despite the fact that Root should be disbanded. And this probably gets Sasuke to kind of, lash out. Or at the very least, he's like verbally cursing the world, and he's like, what the fuck? He kind of like briefly has a moment of, what the fuck? But Naruto and Hinata are able to rein him in, and they help calm him down, and she says that she has a plan. She's going to need their assistance, and it's a good thing that she's made them tuning. By the way, they did get their tuning promotions, all three of them, as well as Shikamaru, and yeah, those four. So we're going to have 4 out of the rookie 12 get their tuning promotion from the first tuning exams. Just something to add. And Karin has been made an official. She's been made an official shinobi of Konoha. She's also lent some assistance. By the way, Tsunade has lent some assistance. Her own studying and knowledge of the Byakugo. It's a seal involving chakra. She's lent her own assistance, her own notes to Karin and Naruto. But she's also lent it to Jiraiya so that he can further crack the curse mark, which he's actually making some decent progress in. But anyways, they're gonna have a plan to root out Root. A little wordplay. They're gonna be making use of those prisoners that they took, specifically Suigetsu, Jugo, and the Sound Four. They're gonna be kind of bringing them in as making it seem as though they're bringing them in as Anbu, only for them to be intercepted by Root and brought to Danzo. In actuality, this is all going to be a part of their plan. If they play along, if the Sound Force Suigetsu and Jugo play along, then she'll be guaranteeing them amnesty and asylum in Konoha, and making them official Konoha shinobi, even if they are going to be on probation. She's also going to be helping them, in their abilities. She says that even that she'll have Suigetsu as a member of Konoha, and if he really wants a sword so bad, she'll just have one made for him. They have some experience with chakra blades and a wide variety of weapons themselves. Like the second Hokage's Thunder Blade, and the chakra blades that like Naruto and Sasuke use. They'll make something a little extra special for Suigetsu, just to get him to stop throwing a hissy fit. And he's like, it's not a hissy fit, but fine, whatever. And Jogo's like, I don't really want to be a shinobi, but if you promise that I can chill out in Mount Miyaboku, then sure. And they're like, yeah, fine, you can live in Mount Miyaboku full time, just so long as you stay there and you stay chill. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And the Sound Four, they're kind of like the most eager to get out from Konoha's boot heel. But yeah, either way, we move forward, and so they end up hatching the plan. The Sound Force, Suigetsu, and Jugo are brought in front of Danzo, and it kind of goes and it kind of ends up being a bit of a mess as Sukan and what is their name? Sukan and hold on, it was Naruto, Sukan, Sakon and Ukon. There we go, Sakon and Ukon, as well as the spider guy, or the Sound Four. Basically, they kind of end up showing that they They don't really care about allying with Konoha, and they actually turn on them. They try to make use of their curse marks, but a special contingency that Jiraiya ended up adding ends up triggering, and it ends up kind of killing them. So they tried to join forces with Danzo for real, and they ended up dying as a result. It also causes they had a special contingency. Those four in specific also had a little bit of Horaishin marker added to them, and this brings the Hokage's guard with Tsunade, which those four that were able to use the Horaishin, but they had to join together to do it. They end up teleporting in with Tsunade and Sagemo Jiraiya, and yeah, they teleport in. Um, then the four teleport away, leaving Sagemo Jiraiya and Byakugo Tsunade, who's gotten into shape over these last few months, and they begin to tear into Danzo, who's kind of standing right there. He begins to show off his usage of his arm of Sharingans, and he briefly contemplates whether he should pull out Shisui's eye. Um, Root is being taken care of by the combined forces of Yamato, Kakashi, Jugo, Suigetsu, and the now in control Anko. She's able to make usage of her curse mark completely on her own terms without like losing control. She even shows off how far she's grown ever since Jiraiya's been helping her out by transforming into a natural version of the curse mark 2, of the curse mark stage 2. Because if you remember, it was stated that you could naturally progress into the stage 2. It just took a very long time. And the method that Sasuke ended up using when he goes into that coffin, that near death state, was just a way to speed it up. So she ends up naturally accessing curse mark stage 2, and the four of them are able to tear through the brood operatives, as well as Torune and Fu. I believe that was their names. They end up tearing through those two. It's a little difficult. Maybe Kakashi has to actually make use of Kamui on, I believe it was Torune, the member from Shino's clan, the Aburami clan, with like the poisonous insects when he touches you. Yeah, he kind of ends up like just deleting his chest in its entirety, killing him instantly as his head and limbs kind of fall to the floor. This might cause the poisonous bugs to try to spread out, but Suigetsu is able to drown them using his water body, and he's actually able to separate them into a water prison, and he ends up kind of drowning them. Maybe just in case Anko sends in some of her snakes to kind of tear them apart. Like she uses that shadow striking snake jutsu, but to a much greater extent. Like a little swarm of them end up coming out from her sleeves and tear through them. And if you want to know what she looks like, I'm gonna just give her Sasuke's. I don't really want to come up with something too crazy, but or maybe hold on, Anko curse. Always go to fan art. Always go to fan art on Google Images. Yeah, I see some where it's literally just Sasuke's. Cause why the hell not? There's one where she has like these cool ass spikes coming out of her arms and her back. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I would say give her Sasuke's. It would fit with her look pretty well. Uh, with her overall hairstyle, give her that grayish purple hair. Just it would be more adding a bit of a tint of gray, giving her that weird star shaped marking across her face, and I don't know, throw in a tail that pops out from the bottom of her trench coat as well. Just give her something a little extra. I don't know, give her some horns if you want to as well, kind of like Toyuya. But either way, they're able to tear through all of the root operatives, working together. Tsunade and Jiraiya, with their buffs, of the Byakugo and Sage mode, are able to tear through most of Danzo's lives before he begins to make use of his Hashirama cells. This is when Yamato actually steps in. He's been learning some Sage mode since he's actually been training with. He's been assisting in the training with Jugo, Anko, and her curse mark, which he now has some control over, and Jiraiya in Mount Miyaboku. He's actually kind of awakened that aspect of Hashirama cells, the ability to just naturally absorb natural energy. So he has the same kind of Sage mode that Hashirama has. He gets those same markings, and he's able to subdue Danzo, which he again uses Izanagi, and they've kind of moved their battle to a different part of their facility, and this is when Team 7 ends up making themselves known. Naruto jumps in with his version version 1 cloak with 3 tails and Sage Mode stacked on top of it. He ends up cleaving off the arm without damaging the Sharingan. Without damaging any of the Sharingan on it. Only one was left active. Maybe he only had like one Sharingan left at the shoulder. He ends up cleaving that off, and he ends up tossing the arm. He ends up sealing the arm away into the scroll on his back. Hinata jumps in, strikes him with the paralyzing 128 palms. She just barely manages to completely get it down. It actually completely drains her. She ends up having to retreat immediately afterwards. She really strained herself with 128 palms. And then Sasuke ends up jumping in with a Genjutsu from his Mangekyo Sharingan. Danzo was about to try to reach for the bandages to reveal Shisui's eye, but Hinata kind of completely stopped that from even happening. He couldn't even channel his chakra to activate his little curse mark trap. So Sasuke ends up casting his Genjutsu Sharingan with the Susanoo, and ends up completely paralyzing Danzo, and Sasuke just reaches forward, tears the bandages off, and tears out Shisui's eye. And he can tell just by the chakra signature. It's exactly like the eye that Itachi gave him. And he doesn't know why, but he ends up summoning that crow that Itachi gave him. He plucks out its other eye and he gives it both of Shisui's eyes, so that the crow is going to be having both of Shisui's eyes in it by now. And he ends up dispelling it. It ends up going back into him, just not crawling down his throat. He just it ends up going back. He's learned how to summon it on his own now, and so he ends up sending it back. And he then executes Danzo. He had special permission from Tsunade to carry out the execution. And Root's going to be properly dismantled. Yeah, Root's going to be properly dismantled. All of the rest of the operatives that are still alive are going to be rehabilitated with the help of the Yamanaka clan. All of the Sharingan that Danzo had, at least here in Konoha, they're going to be, sealed away in the Uchiha clan compound. They're going to have a vault so that they can seal it all away. Sasuke is going to be holding on to Shisui's eyes, the crows with Shisui's eyes, and he's kind of like not really sure what to feel. He just decides that he needs to confront Itachi on everything now that he knows the truth. To do that, he knows he needs to get stronger so that he can confront him one-on-one. And after this, they're gonna be going their separate ways in terms of training. Naruto's gonna be traveling, expanding his abilities even more, training with Jiraiya, and he's hoping to make alliances with the other villages to team up against the Akatsuki. Sasuke is going to be taking his training to the next level. He's seen the abilities of Sage Mode, and he ends up making a proposition to Anko. He asks her if they can go to the Snake Sages, to the Snake Summoning Clan, to learn their version of Sage Mode. And she actually considers it. She thinks maybe they'll be able to help her completely remove the curse mark and evolving the curse mark from what it is now to proper Sage Mode. She thinks that'd be a good way to stick it to her old master. So she ends up agreeing. She's going to be taking Sasuke under her wing, and they're going to be learning from the snakes together. And Hinata is going to be furthering her training in medical ninjutsu and gaining access to the slug summons and even learning the Byakugo, as well as wanting to learn Sage Mode of the slugs from them. She wants to go to Shokatsu Forest to learn from them, to learn their Sage Mode. And Tsunade herself never really went through with it. She considered the Byakugo to be enough, but she does give her student permission. And that's going to be their 2.5 year time skip. She's also going to be properly mastering her fire style Rasengan, and Sasuke is going to be mastering his lightning style Rasengan, and they're also going to be evolving all of their abilities to the next level. Sasuke's going to be, reading from the Uchiha tablet and reading from the Uchiha library, going through their jutsus, and expanding his arsenal to all 5 basic nature transformations. He's taken some inspiration from Naruto. And Hinata kind of wants to do something similar, being the student of the Hokage. She's going to be getting, that premium access to Konoha's library, using Shadow Clones, her supreme chakra control, her usage of the Byakugan to dismantle every jutsu there and learn every kind of jutsu that she can in Konoha's library. As as well as improving her, her evolution of the gentle fist techniques and her overall visual prowess with the Byakugan. So yeah, they're gonna be doing some training, some crazy training to prepare themselves for to face off against the Akatsuki and to accomplish their dreams. As for the bad guys, what are they gonna be doing? So Danzo has been taken out. Neither Obito's not going to be able to make use of him anymore. As a result, he's decided to reach out to Orochimaru. He knows he really got effed up. He's been taking the time to recover. He's consolidated all of his forces into, directly into the village hidden in the Sound Village. Um, he's making use of every resource that he can. He's calling it in every favor. And Orochimaru is going to be allying back with the Akatsuki again, although not as a direct member, more of like a bit of an outside member, some outside help. The Akatsuki, maybe the rest of the Akatsuki don't really like it, but they're like, whatever. He's just gonna be used as a tool, and Orochimaru is gonna kind of be viewing them in the same manner. They're gonna be making use of each other. He's trying to get back into shape. He's trying to get back into fighting shape. It's not going to be easy, especially now that he's lost access. Naruto, when he ended up using the mask, he ended up releasing everything in the Reaper's belly and unknowingly unsealed Orochimaru's arms. So he's going to be getting back into shape and he's going to be getting his revenge. But he knows he needs to wait things out. He needs to wait things out. They're preparing themselves to take down Orochimaru. Any remainders of Root's influence out in the Land of Fire, all of Orochimaru's influence, and the entirety of the Akatsuki. They're kind of preparing themselves to take all three of them down in one fell swoop. But yeah, we're gonna be jumping into a lot of training. I think I'll be covering, the events of the 2.5 years. I want to kind of explore a little bit and give some hints into what's going to be going down into Shippuden. But for now, we will be leaving things off there. I'll be jumping into the 2.5 year time skip as well as the beginning of Shippuden and how all of these events are going to be changing things going forward. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you did and did not like. Hit that bell notification if you want to keep up to date with future updates and future videos. I want to give a quick disclaimer. I'm stopping the high school DxD What If because I wanted to try to read the light novel, read the manga, read ahead of the anime. The plotline is too ridiculous. I thought what we had already seen was ridiculous. I can't. Okay, I can't continue with high school DxD. I just can't. I can't. Okay, so I'm sorry, but that one's gonna be canceled. But you are gonna be getting a new What If, another Naruto What If. I know I'm doing a lot of Naruto. Don't worry. It's gonna be a lot of Naruto going into the future. But yeah, I am gonna be doing another Naruto What If. But you'll be seeing it in the next video. So yeah, keep up to date. Leave your comments and criticisms down below. What you think I could build upon, what you think I should cut back, all that kind of stuff. You're going to be a dick, don't even waste your time. Find something else to do that you enjoy that doesn't come at the expense of others. And I will see all of you in the next video. Bye bye.